Welcome back to Academic Insights. Emergency Management, sponsored by American Military University on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network. My guest today is Allison G.S. Knox, an instructor in the Emergency Management and Fire Science departments at American Military University. I'm your moderator, J.J. Green. Allison, fantastic conversation. Thank you for being here again today. I want to start in this section with something that most of us use, but we don't necessarily know the power of this tool. And I'm talking about social media. How does it help you in the emergency management and disaster management field to better do your job?
That's a great question. Where different emergencies are concerned, particularly where we know what's going to be happening, where hurricanes are coming up the coast, we know that it could possibly hit a particular area. Social media has been fantastic in notifying the general public about these different issues that are coming up. So emergency managers have done a fantastic job putting out notifications through Facebook, through other outlets like Twitter, and it's been fantastic letting people know what's coming and what they need to do to effectively prepare. Additionally, there have been other outlets like the American Military University. We have a great disaster crew Twitter page where individuals can learn about what's happening from people like me that are following these different storms and really following what's happening with emergency management from policy standpoints and whatnot. But additionally, those different, we use social media for the notifications of what's happening. They're also using it for recovery purposes and for response purposes, which has been fantastic. I remember recently with Hurricane Sandy, there was a lot of discussion on Facebook with, the different groups that were really managing those areas and telling people what they needed to know about returning to their homes. So in any case, social media has really, truly helped emergency management in ways that are pretty innovative, I think.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, there are two different things going on here. There's an incident command utilization of social media, and then there's also a learning part of it too, where you actually can learn about things using social media, collecting information about what may be going on as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And just to build from what you said with that, if we're looking at what we're learning about these different incidents, we have really kind of a bit of data there where we can look at what people were saying, what they were thinking about with these different issues, and then we can use that for our emergency management research later. There's another avenue that I did not mention with social media, and that's the EDM Digest blog that we've been doing at the American Military University. We have a lot of different faculty that are writing about these different issues that are coming up, and it also helps to educate the general public too, particularly if it's about an issue that's coming up with a hurricane or another type of disaster, and that's been fantastic.
How often does the blog come out?
The blog comes out, I believe, 3 days a week, which is pretty awesome. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with a briefing of what's been happening that week, nationally, internationally, any different policy issues that are coming up. I've been writing for it for 3 years now, and it's been fantastic.
How do we find it?
EDMdigest.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of our articles also come up too when you look at Google.
Well, that's great. Now, there are scenarios, specific scenarios where social media is very important, and I can't think of one that's perhaps more important these days than active shooter scenarios. So how does that factor into helping you in those situations?
Well, I think that, with these awful situations that have been happening, a lot of new ideas for how to get people information that they need quickly has been coming out. There's a lot of innovation with it. I know that some universities actually have to notify their students, as quickly as they can if they have a situation on campus. So social media has been one of those pieces where they can quickly get to those individuals and notify them to become safe.
So we haven't talked a lot about your actual instruction work. I want to get into that a little bit by using this as a springboard. How do you teach about social media? How do you teach about being prepared, arriving on scene? What process do you use to teach people about how to be prepared when they arrive?
That's a great question. The beautiful thing at the American Military University is that we have so many students that are already in public safety or they have backgrounds in the military. Many of my students are firefighters, they're police officers, they're EMTs and paramedics. So they already have a good understanding of how to respond to these different types of incidents. What we do at the American Military University is add in the different social dimensions where we're working to help them understand how to mitigate these different problems or how to really understand these different problems in a social aspect. I should say in a social science aspect.
And how do the students respond to your teaching, your instruction process?
Well, I try to ask them a lot of questions to get them thinking about things. But the wonderful thing about who they are is they bring in a lot of their experiences. They can talk about it. Sometimes we have students that have worked on similar incidents. They might happen to be online, but they're in the same company, they're in the same agency. So a lot of them, can help build off of each other. And that really helps. That really does.
What does your class size look like, and when do you do what you do with them, these classes? And obviously, sounds like a lot of these folks have jobs. Is it online? Is it in the classroom? Is it both? How does all this work?
American Military University is completely online. We have asynchronous classes that run Sunday through Saturday. They have different deadlines that they have to make sure they post their work by, and then from there, the conversation takes place. And that's really how I put it. The conversation that you would have in a traditional classroom just becomes flat, where everyone's writing everything. So it's the same conversation that you'd have traditionally, but now it's just all written. So those conversations are taking place between me and my students, and so on.
Great. My guest today is Allison G.S. Knox, an instructor in the Emergency Management and Fire Science departments at American Military University. I'm your moderator, J.J. Green, on Academic Insights, Emergency Management, sponsored by the American Military University on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network.